Auspicious greetings to all. During the last session, we introduced the triple gem as objects of refuge and the reason why it is essential to place correct faith in them as we embark on our path of happiness and inner peace. We may recall that the triple gem, innately pure and infallible, points us to the path leading to the clear insight into the reality of life, which leads us away from dissatisfaction and suffering. This session will focus on the act of taking refuge, the process of taking refuge, as well as the blessings and benefits of taking refuge. We will also give treatment to the ultimate meaning of taking refuge in one's own intrinsic triple gem. A Buddhist is one who has taken refuge in the triple gem as their first step. By taking refuge, one declares that one is a disciple of the triple gem. Venerable Master Xing teaches that when a Buddhist practitioner decides to take refuge in the triple gem, it represents a stronger life commitment to learn, practice, and embody the virtues of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. As for the act of taking refuge, when we recall during the last session that we adopted Master Xing analogy of formally registering for admission at a college and gaining admission as a freshman. Only when we formally take refuge are we considered the true students of the Buddha-Dharma, and only then can we have access to the full benefits of Buddhist practice. The very act of taking refuge aligns the mind towards righteousness and wisdom and is the cornerstone of success in everything we do. The act of taking refuge is not merely a matter of ceremony, or is it merely a recitation of a stock formula? It is more importantly an internal process whereby one chooses to solidify one's commitment and faith in the triple gem. As such, it is important that one takes refuge with the right mindset. The correct mindset is succinctly demonstrated in the Chanki Sutta after the Buddha had given a doubt-dispelling discourse on the Dharma to a Brahmin, who subsequently took refuge with the triple gem. Master Gautama has indeed inspired in me love for practitioners, confidence in practitioners, reverence for practitioners. Magnificent, Master Gautama, magnificent. Just as he were to place upright what was overturned, to reveal what was hidden, to point out the way to one who was lost, or to carry a lamp into the darkness so that those with eyes could see forms. In the same way has Master Gautama, through many lines of reasoning, made the Dharma clear. I go to Master Gautama for refuge, to the Dharma and to the community of monks. May Master Gautama remember me as a disciple who has gone for refuge from this day forward for life. From this passage, we understand that the act of taking refuge involves three aspects of our minds: cognition, will, and emotion. The mental factor of cognition points to knowing the need and benefits of taking refuge. One understands that the innate search for freedom from suffering is the purpose of refuge, and understands that the triple gem is the guide that leads us to our goal. We understand the dissatisfactory nature of human existence, and that the fundamental cause of suffering in this life is the lack of insight into the true nature of reality. Not understanding this reality, we cling to self and things and grow our ego. We, however, know that by aligning our actions of body, speech, and mind with the Buddhist path that leads to the freedom from delusions and leads to clear vision, we can transcend suffering. With such knowledge, one takes refuge with the right motivation and understanding. Cognition also involves the element of verification. Before we take refuge, one examines the Buddha's life and deeds, his teachings and the Sangha, to establish validity of the objects of refuge. One soon realizes that the Buddha walks the talk and is the embodiment of the Dharma in the most complete form, replete with compassion and wisdom. The Dharma may be verified by provisionally taking on the Buddha's worldview and directly experiencing the benefits of it firsthand. The Sangha is examined as the entirety of what it represents, the community of monks and nuns who live their lives centered around an ethical code of conduct that promotes harmony. Throughout history, it is observed that insofar as the pure precepts are upheld, harmony is maintained. This is the basis in which the validity of the Sangha as an object of refuge is determined. Once we verify the validity of the Triple Gem as our object of refuge, or objects of refuge, skeptical doubt dissipates and faith is established. In a reciprocal fashion, understanding and verification by direct experience brings a deeper commitment to the refuges, and a deeper commitment aids the development of understanding. These things go hand in hand, and as such, refuge becomes steadfast. As for the mental factor of will, the act of taking refuge turns one's movement of mind inwards, away from the attachments to worldly offerings which cause much dissatisfaction, and towards the Triple Gem. Before refuge, one continually expands one's ego outwards, trying to claim ownership and control over things and people. When we take refuge in the Dharma, we understand that craving and attachments to fleeting phenomena only results in frustration, grievance, and despair. Letting go of such attachments, we develop a content mind and inner peace. We also understand that the true liberation occurs when this egocentric movement of this mind halts and the illusion of self is severed at its core. And then we willingly seek refuge in the Triple Gem with faith and confidence. The third mental factor of taking refuge is emotion. According to the Tsangki Sutta, refuge is motivated by the emotions of confidence, reverence, and religious sentiment. Confidence is a sense of trust in the protective powers of the Triple Gem, conjured by the clear understandings of the qualities and function of the Triple Gem. This confidence leads to the development of reverence as one begins to appreciate the awe-inspiring, sublime nature of the Triple Gem. Reverence leads to the development of religious sentiment, adding vitality and warmth to the religious life. It ignites the flame of devotion that inspires one to extend this protective power of the Triple Gem to others. Upali, the Buddhist foremost disciple in the practice of discipline, was born into a family of the Sudra caste and was destined to be of a low social standing. Back in the days, Sudras were not allowed to receive formal education, and hence, when Upali was a teenager, his parents asked him to learn the trade of a barber to make a living. Upali was attentive and obedient, hence he mastered all types of styles in a short period of time. Satisfied by his learning, his mother had asked someone to help arrange Upali to work at the palace of Kapilavastu, and Upali became the barber of the princes. Princes such as Prince Badiya and Prince Aniruddha had their hair cut by Upali. They liked him so much as he handled their hair with extra care and attention. And then when Upali was 20 years old, Buddha returned to his hometown, Kapilavastu. And that was 3 years after his enlightenment, of course. And Upali was recommended to offer the Buddha a haircut. Upali was overwhelmed by the unexpected favor, but hesitated to accept the honor as he knew the Buddha was the great enlightened one. Insecure about his own abilities and social standing, he asked his mother for advice. Being a mother, of course, she comforted him and said that the Buddha was benevolent and would never despise Sudras. But Upali was still afraid of going despite his mother's assurance. In the end, his mother accompanied Upali to do the haircut for the Buddha. So the next day, Upali, in the company of his mother, did the haircut for the Buddha with deep reverence. After a while, his mother knelt before the Buddha and asked, "Lord Buddha, what do you think of his skill?" "Oh, he bends his back too low," replied the Buddha. Upon hearing the Buddha's remark, he straightened his back straight away, and thereupon he attained the first stage of meditation. And after a little while longer, his mother knelt down and asked, "Lord Buddha, what do you think now?" "Oh, his body seems too straight now," replied the Buddha. When Upali heard this, he focused his attention on his posture, and it was at this particular point that he was said to have attained the second stage of meditation. After a little while longer, the mother asked the Buddha again, "Lord Buddha, what do you think of his skill now?" He breathed in too fast." When Upali heard this, he focused his mind on his inhalation and exhalation. It was said that at this point, he attained the third stage of meditation. And lastly, his mother asked again, "Buddha, what do you think now?" He breathes out too fast," replied the Buddha. Upali was so perfectly mindful of breathing at this particular point that he forgot that he was holding a razor. It was said at this point that he had attained the fourth stage of meditation. As this happened, the Buddha asked the monks nearby to prop up Upali so that he would not fall down, as he was so immersed in this state of meditation that he had completely let go of all external phenomena. From Upali's story, we learned that it was Upali's attentive mind, reverence in the Buddha, and willingness to accept guidance that he had led to his spiritual awakening. A Buddhist initiates his or her formal commitment to learning the Buddha-Dharma by participating in a taking refuge in the Triple Gem ceremony. Subsequently, he or she continues to take refuge in the Triple Gem on a daily basis. For the sake of temporal distinction, we may refer to the initial and recurring taking of refuge. Many aspiring Buddhists and curious friends of Buddhism begin their affinity with the Triple Gem by reading books on the Dharma, talking to Buddhist friends, attending the occasional Dharma talk or meditation session, or visiting Buddhist temples or centers seeking spiritual advice. After some time trying out the practices and studying the teachings, one may begin experiencing the benefits and blessings of the Buddhist lifestyle and decide to formally commit to the teachings by way of an outward expression of conviction. However, before successful refuge is taken, one's mind needs to be free of spiritual obstacles. As Venerable Master Xing reminds, if we have a container that is filled to the top with filthy water, we will not be able to pour in any clear water. Similarly, if our minds are filled with doubt, arrogance, and delusion, we will not be able to accept the pristine Triple Gem. When our minds and intentions are pure, only then are we ready to take refuge. During a taking refuge in the Triple Gem ceremony, one solemnly and sincerely prostrates 3 times and kneels before the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and seeks out a fully ordained senior monk of good standing to preside over the ceremony. This monk is referred to the presiding master. In the Mahayana tradition, refuge is taken with a group of other aspiring Buddhists of various numbers who soon will become one's brothers and sisters in the Dharma. Under the guidance of the presiding master, one solemnly repeats line by line the age-old formula of refuge. I go refuge to the Buddha. I go refuge to the Dharma. I go refuge to the Sangha. This formula is repeated 3 times, with the presiding master proclaiming the completion of taking refuge. The refuge candidate may then express his or her acceptance of refuge and resolution to uphold the Triple Gem for life by replying, Venerable Sir, please accept me as a lay disciple, gone for refuge from this day forth until the end of my life. With this, one formally becomes a Upasaka or Upasika, or in other words, a male or female Buddhist follower. With the intention of inspiring sincerity in the hearts of candidates and creating a dignified ambience, the Chinese tradition, or the Chinese Mahayana tradition, had later modified the procedure for taking refuge to include invitation of the master to preside over the ceremony, offerings of incense in the form of a collective chant titled Praise of the Incense Censer, invoking Shakyamuni Buddha, reciting the Heart Sutra, making a pledge to the Triple Gem, requesting the presence of the holy, repentance and making vows, a Dharma talk by the presiding master, a holy water blessing, and, of course, dedication of merits, in addition to the standard formula for taking refuge. Repentance and making vows in particular is an important element of the ceremony. Repentance purifies the mind, lest we have mental or karmic hindrances to the successful taking of refuge. The function of the initial act of taking refuge is twofold. As an internal process, taking refuge has long-term spiritual value as it provides a sustained direction for Buddhist practice and inspires energy and drive that fuels one's commitment to the path. According to the compendium of the Bodhisattva precepts, the precept essence, or the power of stopping evil and cultivating goodness, is endowed on a person who takes refuge. This is because we take refuge in the Buddha as the embodiment of purity and perfect conduct, in the wisdom of the Dharma that one aspires to develop one's own mind with, and in the conduct of the Sangha which we strive to emulate. Refuge candidates are encouraged thus to visualize the embodiment of the precepts in one's heart during the recitation of the refuge formula. As an external process, taking refuge provides a framework for fellowship and social encouragement. The community of Buddhists are a mutual reminder of the path to happiness and inner peace. In the Upada Sutta, there is a dialogue between the Buddha and his disciple Ananda, in which Ananda enthusiastically declares, "This is half of the holy life, Lord. Admirable friendship, admirable companionship, admirable camaraderie." The Buddha replies, "Don't say that, Ananda, don't say that. Admirable friendship, admirable companionship, and admirable camaraderie is actually the whole of the holy life. When a monk has admirable people as friends, companions, and comrades, he can be expected to develop and pursue the Noble Eightfold Path." Note here that the type of friendship the Buddha is referring to is with fellow Buddhists. From this dialogue, we can understand that good company and good and knowledgeable friends are utmost important on our spiritual journey. After one initially takes refuge by participating in a formal ceremony, it is important to continue repeating the process of taking refuge on a daily basis. The act of taking refuge itself is part of the entirety of Buddhist cultivation, as it plants the seeds of inner development and guides us on our spiritual journey. As we repeatedly call to mind the Triple Gem, we are embracing the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, which in turn serves as a timely reminder of our sublime goal as a Buddhist practitioner. Ideally, one takes refuge twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening, or whenever it is convenient to do so. Nowadays, it is common for Mahayana Buddhists to use a longer version of the original refuge formula based on the Avantasaka Sutra as part of their daily routine. And this involves extending the blessings of the Triple Gem to all beings. In essence, this is the altruistic spirit of taking refuge. One not only seeks refuge and protection for oneself, but also for the welfare of all beings. The verse is as follows: "I take refuge in the Buddha, wishing that all sentient beings understand the Dharma and make the supreme vow. I take refuge in the Dharma, wishing that all sentient beings study the sutras diligently and obtain an ocean of wisdom. I take refuge in the Sangha, wishing that all sentient beings lead the masses in harmony without obstructions." Although the act of taking refuge is ultimately undertaken by the mind, a new Buddhist may find it useful to have symbolic reference to the objects of refuge. If possible, a Buddha altar may be set up at home in a clean and airy room with sunlight. One may need a Buddha image, along with a pair of candles, an incense censer or burner, and incense. After making candle and incense offerings, and whenever available, we can make offerings of fresh flowers or clean water. And we prostrate sincerely 3 times to the Buddha, kneel and join our palms, and recite the refuge formula 3 times. And just before the recitation, it helps to visualize the presence of the Triple Gem, with the omniscient Buddha directly in front of us, and the vast expanse of the Dharma surrounding us, and the holy Sangha of the enlightened monks and nuns by either side of the Buddha. Again, it is important to remember that taking refuge is an act of the mind and heart. If it's not convenient to set up a Buddha altar at home, a picture of the Buddha or image of the Buddha with simple offerings will suffice. Taking refuge in the Triple Gem not only enables us to attain ultimate liberation, according to Buddhist texts, it can also present us with many benefits in this present life. First and foremost, the omniscient Buddha becomes our great teacher. We learn from the enlightened one who has awakened to the truth of reality and who has compassionately taught this truth to sentient beings with the intention of guiding all of us out of perpetual dissatisfaction and suffering. So long as we frequently learn and practice the Dharma, we are truly a student of the Buddha. Secondly, taking refuge establishes a foundation for receiving precepts by ennobling one's character. Upon receiving the precept essence during the refuge ceremony, one is ready to undertake the 5 precepts with confidence and conviction. Thirdly, by taking refuge in the Triple Gem, we will not fall into the hell realm because we take refuge in the Buddha. We will not fall into the animal realm because we take refuge in the Dharma. And we will not fall into the hungry ghost realm because we take refuge in the Sangha. More so, properly taking refuge in the Triple Gem leads us to rebirth in the human and heavenly realms. Fourthly, taking refuge provides us the ability to accomplish all virtuous deeds. Being a Buddhist, we take the deeds of the Buddha and Sangha as our utmost standard for living the spiritual life. We are inspired to do all that is good and selfless, well knowing that the path laid down by the Buddha leads to the accomplishments of the virtues and merits of the Buddha. In the Abhisanda Sutta, the Buddha talks of the streams of merit brought about by refuge. Here, a noble disciple has gone for refuge to the Buddha. This is the first stream of merit, stream of the wholesome, nutriment of happiness, heavenly, ripening in happiness, conducive of heaven, that leads to what is wished for, desired, and agreeable to one's welfare and happiness. The same applies for going for refuge in the Dharma and Sangha, subsequently being the second and third streams of merit, according to this sutra. Fifth, by taking refuge in the Triple Gem, we will naturally seek to associate with like-minded people who aspire towards self-improvement and who live moral lives. When we are constantly surrounded by those with similar aspirations, we constantly remind ourselves of the path. As we continue to internalize Buddhist worldviews, we naturally start seeing the world in a different light, subconsciously picking up on all the opportunities to form positive affinities with others, and in turn, we soon realize that all the many different causes and conditions will come our way. Sixth, when one takes refuge in the Triple Gem, one plants the seeds of Buddhahood in one's mind, so that even if one doesn't cultivate the Buddhist path straight away, one has already created positive connections through faith. When the conditions are ripe, one will naturally be inclined to walk the Buddhist path wholeheartedly. So far, we have talked about taking refuge in the Triple Gem in the most conventional form. We may be reminded that the Buddha himself encouraged his disciples to understand the deeper meaning of the Triple Gem with the famous utterances upon the Buddha's awakening. Marvelous, marvelous, all sentient beings have the Tathagata's wisdom and virtue, but they fail to realize it because they cling to deluded thoughts and attachments. This tells us that the intrinsic nature of each individual is already perfectly endowed with the immeasurable merit of the Triple Gem, and that all beings inherently possess the potential to become a Buddha. Everyone also possesses the Dharma nature that is equanimous, and everyone possesses a character that reflects purity and harmony. Venerable Master Xing reminds us that taking refuge in the Triple Gem is an act of respecting ourselves and affirming our own intrinsic Triple Gem nature. Taking refuge in the Triple Gem represents our faith in the universal potentiality and democracy in achieving Buddhahood. Most of all, taking refuge in the Triple Gem is taking refuge in our own hopes of fulfilling the potential of our wonderful human life. However, are we game enough to acknowledge the Buddha within? Once a devotee asked a Chan master, "What is a Buddha?" The Chan master replied, "You will not believe it, even if I tell you." "Master," said the devotee, "how can I not believe you? How can I not understand your words?" "All right, since you are willing to believe me, I will tell you. You are a Buddha." Astonished, the devotee asked, "I am a Buddha? Why didn't I know it?" "Because you did not dare to take the responsibility," replied the Chan master. Likewise, many Buddhists dare not admit that they are Buddhas. In one of Sakyamuni Buddha's past lives, while he was still Sarapaributta Bodhisattva, he had a heart full of reverence and humility towards fellow Buddhists and all beings, and never looked down on anyone. Whenever he crossed paths with people, he'd express his prediction that they would one day become a Buddha. And even when he was met with hostility, he'd respond, "I do not despise you. You are not despised, for you all perform Bodhisattva practice, and you are to become Buddhas." When we see the Buddha potential in all beings, there is solidarity, and when there is solidarity, there is strength and hope. Having faith in one's intrinsic Triple Gem nature, one is empowered to take responsibility for one's actions and do justice to one's potentiality. The sacredness of taking refuge in our intrinsic Triple Gem nature is exemplified by the saying, "I am a Buddha." So if we're brave enough, let us repeat this together. I am a Buddha. Master Xing explains that once we see ourselves as Buddhas, we naturally tend to avoid doing things and saying things that are un-Buddha-like, while engaging in deeds fitting for a Buddha. Let's think for a moment. Do Buddhas drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes? Perhaps not, eh? Should Buddhas be kind and compassionate to all? Perhaps so. The same is true for our intrinsic Dharma nature. Knowing that we are endowed with the wisdom of the Dharma, we are inspired not to allow delusion to sway us. Knowing that we have the innate purity of the Sangha, we are inspired to hold true to that which is ethical and moral. In wrapping up, taking refuge in the Triple Gem provides safety and protection from the dangers pertinent to the 21st century. It is truly the realization of democracy, in the sense that we are acknowledging the equal innate Buddha potential common to all sentient beings. It is through this acknowledgement that we are innately connected that we may find solidarity, especially in the trying times of our era. I hope that you have found this session to be of help to your spiritual journey, and please stay tuned for next week's session on the human condition and the threefold training. In the meantime, please take care, stay safe, and unleash the Buddha within. May the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha bless you all. Amitofo.